The most expensive breakup fee. My name is Ethan Hayes, and I'm 24. My life's ideal is to be a model slacker, preferably the kind who doesn't even have to flip himself over when sunbathing. Unfortunately, reality tends to be bonier than ideals. I woke up on a colossal bed large enough for 5 people to wrestle on, my head pounding. The unfamiliar ceiling, the strange crystal chandelier, and the faint scent of expensive perfume in the air all reminded me that something definitely happened last night. I pulled back the sheets and checked myself. Good. All the parts were intact, no missing limbs. The space beside me was empty, the linen slightly wrinkled but already cool. The memory of last night was hazy. All I recalled was my ex-girlfriend, Chloe Davis, dumping me over the phone, citing, "I just don't see a future for us," before seamlessly moving on to the rich new dude she'd hooked. Depressed, I went alone to a downtown bar to drown my sorrows. Then I think a woman came over and joined my table. And after that, the memory cut out. I sighed, struggling to sit up, ready to grab my clothes and bolt. As a modern man, you have to know how to protect yourself, and more importantly, how to avoid entanglement afterward. That's when I noticed something on the nightstand. A sleek black card tucked next to a small note. The handwriting on the paper was beautiful, sharp, yet the content was simple and brutal. There's $800,000 in the account. PIN is 888888. Forget last night. I froze. I picked up the card, turning it over and over. It was cool to the touch, with an extraordinary texture. A hot stamped silver V in the center made it look arrogant and mysterious. I wasn't totally naive, but this was the first time I'd ever touched a Centurion card, the kind you only read about in thrillers. $800,000? A breakup fee? I pinched my thigh. Hiss. It hurt. This wasn't a dream. As a bottom-tier guy who had just been dumped, whose savings were in the low 4 figures, and who wasn't sure where next month's rent was coming from, I didn't feel the slightest bit of humiliation. Instead, my heart began shamelessly hammering in my chest. Humiliation? Are you kidding me? This wasn't humiliation. This was manna from heaven. This was targeted economic aid. This was the glorious bugle call for a slacker to finally thrive. Forget it? Impossible. I'd never forget her for the rest of my life. She was my benefactor, the lighthouse illuminating my path to a life of perpetual leisure. I almost regretted blacking out. I hadn't even remembered my savior's face. If I wanted to build her a virtual shrine later, I wouldn't know who to pray to. I carefully tucked the black card and the note into my pocket, the movement as reverent as receiving a holy decree. $800,000. If I budgeted carefully, bought a small house in a small town somewhere, and lived off the interest, could I completely quit the grind and achieve my ultimate dream? Coasting through life? The thought made me so excited, I almost genuflected to the nightstand right there. Ex-girlfriend? Pain of heartbreak? All vanished into thin air in the face of $800,000. I almost wanted to call Chloe and sincerely thank her for leaving me, because her betrayal led to this incredible encounter. I quickly dressed, tidied my messy hair, and, clutching my fortune, strode confidently out of the presidential suite, a room I likely couldn't afford for a single night, even if I worked for a decade. The sun was shining. The air was fresh. The world had never looked so beautiful. The sugar mama shows up back in my cramped Charlotte rental unit. Less than 300 square feet. The colossal wave of happiness finally submerged me. I placed the black card on the table, staring at it, unable to stop turning it over in my hands. Then, trembling, I called the bank's customer service number to check the balance. When a sweet voice on the other end clearly stated, "Your account balance is $800,000 exactly," my legs gave out, and I collapsed into my chair. It was real. I, Ethan Hayes, had become a semi-millionaire overnight. I began pacing the room, rubbing my hands excitedly, already mapping out my grand plan for a life of leisure. First, quit my job immediately. That micromanaging boss who was constantly selling false promises? Bye-bye, sucker. Next, head to the Mountain West, maybe Colorado or Idaho, find a slow-paced town, buy a small apartment with a tiny yard. Plant some flowers, get a cat and a dog. Wake up naturally every day, drink coffee, read, play video games. No KPIs, no deadlines, no annoying colleagues or managers. Isn't that the life of the gods? Just as I was blissfully daydreaming, a sharp, urgent knocking interrupted my fantasy. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was heavy, conveying an absolute demand for entry. My heart sank. Who was it? The landlord demanding rent? No, it wasn't due yet. Utility inspection? Unlikely. I cautiously approached the door and peered through the peephole. After a single glance, my heart skipped a beat. Standing outside was a woman. A perfectly tailored black pantsuit outlined a stunning figure. Her long hair was impeccably twisted into a severe bun, revealing a face so beautiful it was almost aggressive. Her skin was pale, her features sharp, her lips thin and tightly pressed. Her eyes were icy and detached. It was her. Although last night's memory was fragmented, I couldn't possibly mistake this face. She was my benefactor. How did she find me? Did she regret it? Was she here to take back the $800,000? I instinctively clutched the black card in my pocket, feeling the blood drain from my limbs. Behind her stood two massive men in black suits and sunglasses, blocking the hallway like two iron towers. This was not the setup for a friendly negotiation. I swallowed hard, my brain racing. Pretend I wasn't home? No, she definitely knew I was inside. Open the door? What if they dragged me away and harvested my kidneys? Just as I wavered, the woman outside seemed to lose patience. She glanced at her wristwatch, and her voice, though not loud, was powerfully penetrating. Mr. Hayes, I know you're in there. I'll count to 3. If you don't open the door, you will bear the consequences. 3, 2. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I was toast. She'd clearly done a deep background check. Running was impossible. 1. I grit my teeth and yanked the door open. Hi, beautiful. Can I help you? I decided on a desperate attempt to play dumb. Her cold gaze swept over me, from my sweat-wrinkled t-shirt, the result of my internal excitement, to my flip-flops finally resting on my face. Her expression held no contempt, only an impersonal, professional scrutiny. Ethan Hayes, 24, graduated from UNC Charlotte with a degree in business administration. Currently a sales assistant at Phoenix Trade Associates, making $3,200 a month. Parents are retired factory workers. You broke up with your girlfriend of 3 years, Chloe Davis, 1 week ago because she thought you were poor. She recited my personal information without emotion, like reading a legal verdict. I was completely dumbfounded. She knew more about me than my own mother. What do you want? My voice was shaky. I'm warning you, robbery is a felony. The woman's lips curved into a barely noticeable smile, as if she found my reaction amusing. I am Vivian Sloan, she introduced herself. Regarding last night, I apologize. I had too much to drink. It's fine, totally fine. I quickly waved my hands. Please don't say that. If anything, I took advantage. I'll give the money back right now. I reached for the card. Though my heart was shattering, my life was more important. Keep the money, Vivian Sloan interrupted. The $800,000 is yours. I stared blankly. There's more good news? I'm here today to discuss a business proposition, she said, cutting straight to the point. A proposition? I was even more confused. Be my contract boyfriend for 1 year. Vivian Sloan's tone was as flat as if she were discussing the weather. During the contract period, you will need to act as my boyfriend, accompanying me to necessary events, primarily involving my family and some business associates. She paused, then laid out the conditions. In return, you will receive a $160,000 monthly allowance. I will provide a downtown penthouse apartment, a car, and a driver. Your duties are simple. Show up, dine, smile, and play the role of a man hopelessly in love with me. I suspected I misheard. $160,000 a month? Plus a penthouse and a car? This kind of job existed? Of course, Vivian added, her gaze sharpening. The contract has one crucial prerequisite, which is, you are absolutely forbidden to fall in love with me. After 1 year, the contract ends. We part ways, and you leave with your money, never to appear before me again. I looked at her glacial face, thinking one thing, ma'am, don't worry. With your demeanor, I need to have a death wish to fall in love with you. Besides, falling in love? That would seriously mess up my plan to coast through life. I clear my throat, try my best not to look like a small-town bumpkin who had never seen real wealth before. Why me? I asked the biggest question on my mind. Vivian Sloan's eyes returned to me, this time with a hint of appraisal. The first day, the ex's taunts because you are lazy enough, useless enough, and content enough with mediocrity. Those words, though factually correct, somehow grated on me. I investigated you, she continued. Your greatest dream is to eat, sleep, and barely exist. You have no ambition, so you won't scheme for my family's assets. You need money, and I need a safe, harmless shield who won't cause any trouble. We are a perfect match. I got it. She needed a slacker boyfriend, and I, Ethan Hayes, fulfilled every requirement perfectly. This was practically a dream job tailored just for me. Great pay, minimal effort, and zero long-term commitment. I looked at Vivian Sloan and nodded solemnly. Ms. Sloan, I think you're absolutely right. I put on a serious face. For the sake of love, aw no, for the sake of the job, I am willing to accept this glorious and arduous mission. Vivian Sloane watched my instantaneous shift in demeanor, a flicker of complex emotion in her eyes, but quickly settled back into calm professionalism. Good. She stepped aside, gesturing for me. Now go pack your things. My assistant will take you to your new place. My slacker life, no, my professional career, had just begun. My so-called packing only took 10 minutes. One suitcase containing a few changes of clothes, a video game console, and my fat cat, Mojo, whom I'd owned for 3 years. Vivian's assistant, a sharp-looking man with gold-rimmed glasses, raised an eyebrow when he saw the cat in my arms, but said nothing. He politely helped me load the suitcase into the trunk. The car was a Bentley. The luxurious interior made me feel awkward about where to put my hands and feet. Mojo, however, adapted perfectly, finding a comfortable spot in my arms and beginning to purr. A truly carefree creature, just like his owner. The car smoothly entered Charlotte's most elite residential district, the Citadel Tower. Apartments here reportedly cost more per square foot than an entire house in my hometown. The assistant brought me to a sprawling penthouse unit on the 36th floor and swiped the keycard. Mr. Hayes, this is your residence for the next year. The property is in Ms. Sloane's name, so you may live here comfortably. There is a Porsche 911 in the garage reserved for your use. If you don't drive, we can arrange for a chauffeur. As he spoke, the assistant handed me a secondary credit card. This card will be automatically credited with $160,000 on the first of every month for your allowance. If you have any needs, please contact me anytime. I took the card, feeling lightheaded. The service was impeccable. The assistant quickly left, leaving Mojo and me staring blankly at the 3,000-square-foot luxury apartment. Outside the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, the city's glittering skyline stretched out. I hugged Mojo and rolled around on the soft wool rug. Mojo, we're rich. Mojo meowed and patted my cheek with his paw, as if saying, pull yourself together, human. Just as I was basking in my sudden wealth, the doorbell rang. I assumed the assistant had forgotten something. I opened the door to find several people in luxury brand uniforms pushing garment racks. Mr. Hayes, we were sent by Ms. Sloane to handle your image transformation. For the next 2 hours, I was treated like a mannequin, forced into over a dozen outfits. From suits to casual wear, from shoes to watches, everything was ridiculously expensive, with so many zeros on the tags I couldn't keep count. Eventually, they settled on a relatively understated casual suit. Mr. Hayes, you have a good foundation. You just haven't paid attention to your grooming, the stylist said, stroking his chin and looking pleased with his work. Ms. Sloane instructed us to make you look like a tasteful gentleman, not a lottery winner. I looked at my brand new reflection in the mirror. I actually looked presentable. Clearly, clothes made the man. The ordeal left my stomach rumbling. I decided to go out and experience the rich life, starting with dinner. Driving the flashy Porsche 911, I followed my memory to Le Fleur, the most famous French restaurant in Charlotte. Chloe used to talk about how she longed to dine there, saying it was the only way to experience true high society. Unfortunately, back then, I couldn't even afford the valet parking. Tonight, I was high society. I parked the car and was walking toward the entrance when I heard a familiar, grating voice. Well, look who it is. If it isn't Ethan Hayes. I turned around and saw Chloe clinging to the arm of a slick-haired man. I recognized the guy, Bryce Miller, a trust fund kid whose family owned a small factory. He'd been pursuing Chloe before. This, apparently, was her future. Chloe looked me up and down, her contempt undisguised. All dressed up. Where did you rent the suit? Is it a knockoff? She sneered. What's wrong? Got dumped and felt the urge to stand outside this place to take a picture for social media? Bryce looked at me with the same scornful expression, one reserved for garbage. He pulled Chloe closer, showing off. Chloe, don't mind the bum. He's dirtying our view. People like him will never set foot inside Le Fleur. I didn't want to bother with them. I was a man of millions, $1 million a month, and arguing with them would only lower my standing. But their words were truly unpleasant. I frowned, a spark of anger rising inside me. I was about to speak when the deep rumble of an engine approached rapidly. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled smoothly to a stop right in front of the restaurant entrance. The license plate was famous, V88888. In Charlotte, that plate was more recognizable than the car itself. It was Vivian Sloane's car. The power of the black carried the car, door opened, and Vivian Sloane stepped out. Tonight, she wore a white evening dress under a beige trench coat, softening the sharp edge of her business attire, but her powerful, keep your distance aura remained undiminished. Chloe and Bryce's mocking laughter cut off abruptly. They stared at Vivian with slack jaws, their eyes wide enough to hold an egg. Who is Vivian Sloan? A Charlotte business legend, the formidable head of Sloan Group. Young, yet ruthless and brilliant, she was the target of countless businessmen hoping to curry favor. Bryce's father's small factory depended on the Sloan Group supply chain for several contracts. His dad would have to bow and scrape, calling her Ms. Sloan. And now, this legendary figure was striding elegantly straight toward me. My heart was racing, too. Why was she here? We agreed to operate independently. Did she put a tracker on me? Just as my mind spiraled, Vivian reached me. Under the terrified gaze of Chloe and Bryce, she did something that stunned everyone rigid. She reached out and very naturally linked her arm through mine. Her arm was soft, and through the thin fabric of my suit jacket, I could feel the warmth of her skin. Didn't you say you wanted to eat here? Why are you standing around daydreaming? Her voice was low, carrying a hint of affectionate complaint. I was completely dumbfounded. When had we agreed to this? Why didn't I know? But I was a man committed to becoming a professional contract boyfriend. I had my standards. I immediately reacted, adopting a doting smile to play along. I was waiting for you, darling. I can't eat without you. The cheesiness of a line gave me goosebumps. Vivian's body seemed to stiffen slightly, but she recovered instantly. She didn't even glance at Chloe or Bryce, treating them as if they were invisible. She pulled the black card, the one she had given me, from her handbag and handed it to the restaurant manager, who had rushed out upon seeing the Rolls-Royce. Clear the floor. Her voice was quiet but commanded obedience. My husband doesn't like noise. The word husband was pronounced with exquisite clarity. The manager saw the black card and nearly collapsed, nodding profusely. Yes, Ms. Sloan, I'll arrange it immediately. Right away. He then turned to Bryce and Chloe, the fawning instantly replaced by cold professionalism. Excuse me, folks, the restaurant has been booked for the evening. Please leave. Bryce's face cycled through shades of red and white. He wanted to rage, but he didn't dare. He looked at Vivian holding my arm, his eyes filled with jealousy and disbelief. Chloe's expression was even more spectacular. She stared intensely at me, her eyes screaming shock, regret, and resentment. She couldn't understand how the pauper she'd dumped just days ago had suddenly become Vivian Sloan's husband. She never imagined that my outfit wasn't a rental knockoff, but that I had genuinely latched onto a branch she could never reach in a lifetime. With their expressions looking as if they just swallowed a handful of flies, I was led into the restaurant by Vivian, head held high. In that moment, I truly felt the power of being a sugar baby for the first time. The feeling was absolutely exhilarating. The professional ethics under the gigantic crystal chandelier. Only two place settings graced the long dining table. The restaurant was completely empty, with only the smooth strains of a distant violin echoing softly. I sat across from Vivian, feeling slightly unreal. Thank you for that just now. I broke the silence first. I was just passing by, Vivian said, cutting her steak without looking up, and reminding you. I expect you not to cause me any trouble while fulfilling the contract. I didn't cause trouble. I was the victim of trouble. I defended myself. Besides, I was protecting your reputation. Think about it. If your contract boyfriend gets mocked as a pauper right outside the restaurant, doesn't that make you look bad? Vivian paused her cutting motion. She looked up at me, her eyes critical. You have a lot of excuses. It's not an excuse. It's professional ethics, I stated seriously. Since I took your money, I am now your employee. No, wait. I'm a person working for you. I must always protect the client's brand image and reputation. As I spoke, I pulled a small notebook and pen from my jacket pocket. I grabbed them from the penthouse earlier. To better execute my duties, I believe we need to clarify our job description and rules of conduct. I pushed up my imaginary glasses, shifting into work mode. First, in public, what's the appropriate level of physical contact? Arm linking is fine, but what about hand-holding? Hugging? Kissing? We need to communicate these things beforehand to avoid misunderstandings. Second, about the persona, I'm playing the role of a man hopelessly in love with you. What are the specific manifestations of this persona? Is it soulful gazing or meticulous care? For example, do I need to peel your shrimp for you? Third, handling emergencies. Like the situation just now, should I take the initiative or wait for you to save the day? We need a secret signal. Maybe you cough once, and that means I can start acting like a total badass. I grew more animated, completely absorbed in my new role as contract boyfriend. Vivian had listened expressionlessly at first, but as I continued, a slight crack appeared in her icy facade. The corner of her mouth involuntarily curved upward into a tiny smile. Although it vanished instantly, I definitely caught it. This was the first time I'd seen her smile. Even if it was just a faint hint, it was like the melting of ice and snow, bringing life to her face. Ethan, she put down her knife and fork and dabbed her mouth with a napkin. Did you forget your main job is to act like arm candy? Arm candy requires professional ethics, I insisted. She looked at me, silent for a few seconds, then said, "Suit yourself." Just then, her phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, and her brows immediately furrowed. She answered, her voice returning to its previous cool tone. "Hello, Mom." Whatever was said on the other end, Vivian's expression grew steadily darker. "I told you I have a boyfriend." "Fine, I'll bring him home." She hung up and looked at me, taking a deep breath. "The first mission has arrived," she said. "This weekend, you're coming home for dinner with me." My heart jumped. Meeting the parents? Already? This was way more intense than dealing with my ex-girlfriend. I saw Vivian's serious expression, dropped the joking demeanor, and nodded. "Understood, Ms. Sloan." Mission accomplished, guaranteed. The slacker boyfriend at the dinner party that weekend, I rode with Vivian in her car to the Sloan family's mansion nestled in the mountainside. More than a mansion, it was a sprawling estate. The massive wrought iron gates slowly opened, and the car drove along a long, shaded driveway for a full 5 minutes before reaching the main house. Before getting out, Vivian handed me a box. "This is a gift for my father, a rare, vintage Pappy Van Winkle 23-year. Inside, say little, smile a lot. I'll handle everything." Her voice held a barely concealed tension. I took the box and nodded. Stepping into the living room felt like walking into a European palace. Several people were already seated. A pair of stern-looking middle-aged people, clearly Vivian's parents. A young man in his early 20s, bearing a slight resemblance to Vivian, but with a rebellious sneer in his eyes, was scrutinizing me. This must be her younger brother, Leo Sloan. There was also a man in a sharp suit and gold-rimmed glasses, about 30 years old, with a refined air, but his gaze toward me was overtly hostile. Vivian quietly introduced him beside me. "That's my mother and father. My brother, Leo Sloan. The man next to him is Marcus Thorne, son of the head of Thorne Group." I understood. This Mr. Thorne was my main competition, the rumored target for the business marriage. This dinner was a trial by fire. "Dad, Mom, this is my boyfriend, Ethan Hayes." Vivian introduced me, linking my arm through hers. "Mr. Sloan merely lifted his eyes from his newspaper and scoffed. "Mrs. Sloan offered a forced plastic smile and sized me up. "Young man, where are you from? What does your family do?" It had begun, the classic pedigree interrogation. I smiled and, following Vivian's prearranged instructions, told the truth. "Hello, Mom. I'm a local Charlotte resident. My parents are retired factory workers." The atmosphere in the living room immediately chilled. Mrs. Sloan's strained smile nearly cracked. "And where are you employed now?" "Young Ethan," she pressed. "Me? Temporarily unemployed." I maintained my smile, acting as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "Unemployed?" Leo Sloan sneered, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Sis, where did you find this boy toy? A jobless bum?" Vivian's face darkened. She was about to speak, but I squeezed her hand lightly, signaling her to stay calm. "Leo, is it?" I looked at him, my smile unchanging. "I am indeed unemployed. I decided that working is too much effort. My goal is to coast through life." My shameless declaration left Leo momentarily speechless. At that moment, Marcus Thorne, who had been silent, spoke up. He adjusted his glasses, adopting a tone of pitying concern. "Mr. Hayes, having such a philosophy is understandable. Everyone has different priorities. However, Vivian, you've always had high standards. I confess I don't understand what quality Mr. Hayes possesses that could possibly attract you." The comment sounded like a defense, but it was actually inflammatory, implying I was worthless and Vivian had poor judgment. All eyes turned to Vivian. Mr. Sloan finally put down his newspaper, looking at us coldly. "I think he's great," Vivian said, her voice calm but firm. "Great how?" Mr. Sloan finally spoke, his voice carrying the oppressive weight of authority. "No background, no education, no job, and he has the audacity to say his dream is to be a slacker. Vivian, you are bringing shame upon the Sloan name. If you continue this nonsense, get out of this house." The temperature in the room dropped to freezing. Vivian was visibly trembling, her lips pressed tight, silent. I could tell that despite her strong exterior, she was under immense pressure from her family, especially her imposing father. I felt a surge of indignation. Who were these people to speak to her like that? Even though our relationship was contractual, she was currently my boss, my sponsor. They were insulting me, too. I decided it was time to teach them a lesson.